This is episode 2 of Shark Lore. So, how the remaining episodes will go is that I will discuss each species within a family per episode. I will provide the maximum length, how deep they can swim, their diet, mode of reproduction, and any other additional facts that are worth discussing. So, this episode we will be discussing the Hexanchiformes, otherwise known as the primitive sharks. You'll notice they're pretty unusual compared to your typical shark. This is because they are often found in much deeper water, so they are rarely seen in the first place. They tend to have drowsy, lazy eyes, and they have the dorsal fin shifted way back to where the anal fin is located. They are also in the superorder Squalomorphi, which will be what the next 3 families of sharks will be for the next 3 episodes. So the first species we will discuss is the Bluntnose sixgill, or Hexanchus griseus. They are also called cow sharks, but I can't really find a reason why they're called cow sharks. It might be due to them being quite big. Other than that, they don't eat grass like cows and don't really share any other characteristics, so there's not really a clear reason. But with this series, I'll try to format each of the families in chronological order. So they are the most primitive known sharks that are not extinct. And these fellas are actually quite big. They can grow up to a whopping 20 feet, but most don't reach more than 14 feet in length. And humans don't have to worry about attacks because they're often cruising the ocean floor and are rarely seen in the first place because their depth range can be around 8,200 feet below the sea level. And with their diet, they feed on bony fish, squid, crustaceans, smaller sharks, seals, and even whale carcasses, which is what the image on the right shows. And the reproduction shows the eggs hatching inside of the mother, otherwise known as ovoviviparous reproduction, and the embryos will feed on a yolk sac to survive, and they could have a diverse litter of anywhere between 22 to 108 pups. And the next species is the Bigeye sixgill and the Atlantic sixgill. So the Bigeye is Hexanchus nakamori, and the blue is to show from the map their location, and Hexanchus vitulus is the Atlantic, and the red shows that location. So the Bigeye is very similar to the Bluntnose. Only real difference is that they are smaller and just have a larger eye. And for the Atlantic sixgill, it's debated if it really counts as a different species, but it is a much smaller version than both species, and they only grow up to about 6 feet and also has the dorsal fin placed slightly different. But other than that, that's really all there really is to know about these sharks. We'll move on to the very unusual frilled shark, otherwise known as Chlamydocelicus anguineus. So this shark is unique for its prehistoric eel-like appearance, with the 6 gill slits being around the neck, giving it that frilled name. They often live in depths around 3,900 feet, so not much is really known about them. They likely use the eel shape to slither and lunge at the prey to swallow them whole, similar to a snake. And with the size of no more than 6.6 feet, they will feed on squid, octopus, and smaller bony fish. And for reproduction, they are also ovoviviparous. And since the frilled females do not have a placenta, the embryos do not eat much of the yolk sac either, so only about 2 to 15 pups are born at a time because the smaller size means that they don't have as much to eat. They do, however, have about 21 to 29 rows of teeth and a snake-like mouth used to swallow larger prey, and buoyancy is not a big concern since they dwell near the bottom of the ocean, and they only need the low-density lipids to cruise along the ocean floor. There is also the South African frilled, otherwise known as Chlamydocelicus africana. It's hard to see them as different, but they do have slightly different proportions in the fin location. They have a broader mouth, a larger head, and longer sets of 6 gill slits. The largest specimen, however, was only about 3.9 feet, and they live at depths down to about 4,590 feet and likely have aplacental viviparous reproduction or ovoviviparous. And the snake mouth is used to swallow small sharks whole and likely specializes in only capturing small sharks, such as the African sawtail cat shark. Next are the seven-gilled sharks, so the broadnose and sharp-nosed seven-gilled. The broadnose is Notorhynchus sepidionus, and the sharp-nose is Heptranchius perlo. I hope I pronounced everything right there. They're unique for not only being the only fish with 7 gills, but also have the most gills out of any animal. So note that Hexanchiformes and the exception of a six-gilled saw shark are the only sharks that do not have 5 gills. They grow up to about 9.8 feet with a max depth of 1,870 feet. Their diet consists of small sharks, rays, bony fishes, where they will often hunt in groups when attacking these prey items. And their digestion process can take several days, so they typically can go weeks without eating. And reproduction is, once again, eggs hatching inside of the mother, or ovoviviparous, with a large litter of around 82 to 95 pups. And it's hypothesized that the females can actually create artificial sperm as well, but there is no confirmation on that. And with that, that concludes the second episode